Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views on myself, Salailo Makwidi. We've come to the big end of the show. We're going to be wrapping it up with our hashtag Heard on Air feature. This is a brilliant conversation that Inaidwadi had. I think it was a few days ago when there was, I think, a deep dive into 2 years into this genocide, the genocide against the people of Gaza, perpetuated by this Israeli apartheid regime. And he had a really, really brilliant panel of experts that he heard on the show. And here's a snippet from that show. Otherwise, from myself, Salado Makwidira, and the rest of the team, it's Shop Shop. See you again tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of News and Views. Shop Shop.
Dr. Mimi, let's bring Roscoe into the discussion. Roscoe, now obviously your work as an investigative journalist emphasizes on a lot, and some of the key issues, the need for transparency, accountability in the media as well, and also in terms of political reporting as well. Some of your key areas of focus is, uncovering some of the underlying forces that are shaping narratives and policies. And I'm sure you've been following this Trump peace deal as well, in terms of how this is actually starting to feature in the media in terms of shaping these narratives and policies. Just your take, Roscoe, on what you've read until now, or what you've investigated until now.
Thank you so much. I think my reflections on the so-called Trump 20-point peace plan is that it's very light on detail on the important things that need to be addressed with absolute urgency. We need massive amounts of aid as a starting point. And I think we are within the fever dream of an authoritarian dictator. The reason why Donald Trump wants to forward and push this plan is not because he's a great humanitarian. It's because of his ego. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. It is the one thing that he thinks will give him validation. So, and we've seen the tail wagging the dog in terms of the relationships between the US and Israel. But dealing with the moving goalposts politically has been one of the interesting observations. For example, it's reported that this was a 21-point plan. In terms of consultations with other countries, particularly like Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, there were certain things that were then plucked out of the text, most notably the guarantees regarding that Israel would not annex the West Bank. And it's reported that Jared Kushner and the Minister of Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, sat and then plucked out wording and verbiage in the agreement, and it was reduced to a 20-point plan, even going to the extent that it created a new map for Israeli withdrawal. And when this came to light, it took the partners in the Middle East and these other countries completely by surprise. I do believe that the powers that be are creating once again a trap for the Palestinians to fall into, to continue the genocide in Gaza, and to further this vision of settler colonialism. And I think an important point to note about this is the way that they're going about envisioning some kind of protectorate for the people of Palestine. As the doctor who spoke previously, there's no agency, there's no sovereignty, no consultation with the Palestinian people of this. And now the expectation is that they have to answer to a British colonial master in Tony Blair. So the entire thing, from the propaganda to the bad faith negotiations to the moving of the goalposts, has been completely in bad faith, and there have been political landmines that I think has also contributed to the asymmetry of this conflict, of this genocide.
Yes, thank you for that, Roscoe. Let's bring Osama back into the discussion. Osama, I just want to look at it from the resistance perspective and the response from the resistance, because we've seen Hamas express its readiness regarding the future of Gaza as well, as far as the captives are concerned in terms of the release. So part of it, obviously, Hamas has obviously agreed, but they still remain very, very skeptical with regard to the entire peace deal. And just your understanding and your take on the response on the part of the resistance. And I suppose, this also echoes the sentiments of many Palestinians who are skeptical about this deal as it has been presented.
As Palestinians, we never the Israeli occupation, mainly the Israeli Prime Minister echelon, and we never trust the American President Donald, because we have received over the past 2 years from whether Joe Biden or Trump that there will be a ceasefire and end the Israeli killing of the Palestinians in Gaza. But what we have seen is more crimes and more of the Palestinian children in Gaza. And by the way, the situation in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem is not much better. As we are speaking now, the Israeli settlers are storming into Palestinian villages and committing attacks against the Palestinians. So this is the Israeli occupation agenda all the time, an all-out war against the Palestinian people. Now, concerning the Palestinian general, as there was a statement hours ago that Hamas invited also the Islamic Jihad and the Palestinian population Palestine to be part of the negotiations round in Egypt, which means that there is a consensus among the Palestinians that this war must come to an end. This genocide must come to an end. And of course, when it comes to the official Palestinian government here in Ramallah, it welcomed the plan and called for more international momentum in order not only to cease Gaza, and that is the pivotal point. First of all, and the main priority and the main goal that the Palestinians have is to stop the genocide against Gaza and to stop the expulsion of the people from Gaza. And then to expand the plan and talk seriously about peace, to achieve peace. Start the way for the creation of the Palestinian state, to do justice to the Palestinian people by ending the Israeli occupation and dismantling the Israeli colonial settlements, and allow the Palestinian people to exercise their normal life just like any other people in any country on this planet, practicing and exercising their life, because this is not the fate of the Palestinian babies. I just was watching a video for a Palestinian mother from Gaza holding her days-old baby. You can't imagine the deformity that this baby has because of gas inhalation and because of the internationally banned weapons used by Israel in Gaza, which implies that the suffering of the Palestinians is not us because of this genocidal war. Generations are going to suffer because what Israel did to Gaza is 10 Hiroshimas, really. So the Palestinians, whether the resistance, the political factions, the civil society organizations, all agree that this genocide must come to an end and the oppression of the Palestinian people must come to an end.
Well, yes, Nusama, in fact, Osama, I can actually just imagine the generational trauma that has been going on, and we're talking of over 7 decades. Bashira, I know you've got to leave us in a few minutes as well. And I just need to just expand a bit more in terms of the liberation deal now. We know that, with the flotilla at this point in time, what the outcome was, we've welcomed the South Africans that have returned today, after they were unsuccessful in breaking the siege as well. But let's just obviously going forward, and as far as this deal in particular is concerned as well, just looking at it from the global Smooth Rotilla movement as well, I suppose, there's still a lot of work that actually lies ahead of us. There's a lot of campaigning to do, and this is not going to stop.
Yes, it won't stop, and yes, we were unsuccessful in breaking the siege and opening up a permanent humanitarian corridor, which were our primary objectives. But what we were successful in is creating a global model army that will do whatever it takes, to break the siege. We are not, our Sumud and our steadfastness are not broken. We are just more motivated than ever. Our participants who were kidnapped by the Israeli forces now have first-hand experience, even though it cannot be compared to what the Palestinians go through. They have first-hand experience of what goes on a daily basis in those prisons. And I think part of why this peace deal has come up at this point in time is because Israel, the US, and the allies have realized that this global model army is not going anywhere. It's just growing bigger and bigger. And this is one of the attempts to appease people around the world, to create the illusion that things are being done to put this genocide to an end. But we know that even if there is a ceasefire in Gaza, that doesn't mean that the ethnic cleansing is going to stop. The situation in the West Bank, especially in the north of the West Bank, it's getting incredibly worse hour by hour, day by day. And the ethnic cleansing is advancing because of the focus on Gaza in the West Bank. So, I think this peace deal is just a facade. Yes, we might have, if you want to use the word, failed in our primary objectives of the Smooth Flotilla, but we certainly are stronger than ever, and the world is paying more attention than they ever have. And I think the US, Israel, and its allies have to be extremely careful and extremely smart about how they proceed in the next few weeks, which I don't think they are doing with this peace deal. I think everyone can see that it's a facade and illusion.
Well, thank you for that, Bashira, and we do appreciate you taking time out. I know you're going to take leave of us, but we do appreciate you taking time out with us this evening, even for a few minutes. But all the best to you. Assalamu alaikum.
Can I just say one thing really quickly in between?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Prof.
Before Bashira leaves, I was on the first flotilla going into Gaza in 2008, the Free Gaza Flotilla. We had two boats, the Free Gaza and the Liberty. I was the only Israeli on the flotilla. We were 46 people, and we got into Gaza. The Israeli army and Navy decided that they were going to let us in. And we spent 3 days in Gaza. That was very important. So as one of the first participants, I really want to express my support certainly for your work and for the Gaza Sumud Flotilla. That was really very good. And now another one is almost here.
Yes, thank you for the Prof. Sorry, Bashira.
No, I was just saying thank you. And yes, they have already been intercepted, but it will just keep happening until we're successful.
Not a problem. Well, Bashira, once again, Jazakallah to you. Shukran for your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, we are continuing with the rest of the panel. Unfortunately, Bashira Sumar has had to leave us, but we continue. I'd just like to bring Prof. Jeff back into the discussion as well. Prof, as Bashira mentioned it, she speaks about this global moral army that has put a lot of pressure right across the entire world. It's put a lot of pressure on world leaders. It's put pressure even with the global Sumud Flotilla, although we did not get the outcome that we were actually hoping for. But once again, it's put a lot of global pressure. But just to understand from an Israeli government's perspective, does that pressure really matter at all? Or, we've got to a stage now where Israel is now truly